Well, hello, and thank you for stopping by here with us at Ask the Chimney Sweep. My name's Clay Lamb, and I want to thank you for stopping by and just talking with us here. But we've got some great guests. We have today we've got a climber, Christian LeBlanc. He's from Atlanta, Georgia. First met him down there. Has an interesting way of finding people that know how to climb. So what we're going to do after that, we're going to meet a new guy next week, and I'll just reveal that a little bit later on who it's going to be. But I think a lot of people in our chimney and fireplace industry is going to know my next guest pretty well. Join me today if you would, and I really appreciate your help. We need your help in Google and YouTube love analytics, and that means like and subscribe. I almost hate those words, but I know how important they are for the algorithm. And if I really couldn't ask you enough times to help me out, I'd really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe and join us here at Ask the Chimney Sweep.
This is Home Contractors HQ, episode number 34.
Welcome to Home Contractors HQ. This is Clay Lamb. I'm with Christian LeBlanc from Chimney Solutions out of beautiful Atlanta, Georgia. How are you today, Christian?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing?
I'm doing, my friend. I'm doing really good. It's been a couple of months since I seen you. I had an opportunity that the boss man, John Susan, ran down and picked me up and drugged me over to meet you, and it was my pleasure, my friend. It really was.
Yeah, likewise. I know we could have kept going for another couple hours or couple days for that matter.
Yeah, but we both had to go to work, didn't we?
Yeah, no doubt. But yeah, definitely a pleasure, man.
Well, let me start this off. I just want this to be a conversation, you and I talking over a cup of coffee. I got you on the home contractors training stage here, and let's start off that our audience gets to know a little bit about you, Christian. Tell us about your family, where you came from, and what's your path down there.
Sure, yeah. I guess quick story, born in Louisiana, raised in Georgia. Ended up traveling a little bit in my 20s and settled down, got married, lived in Indiana for a while, which is where I was introduced to the chimney industry, and kind of started from the bottom there, just tuck pointing and crown coating and doing all that fun stuff, and then eventually moved into sales and management and actually relocated with the same company to Bone Dry and their satellite offices based out of Lexington. And so family moved there, had a couple more kids. I have 4 total. So
You have 4 kids now?
I do.
Awesome, brother. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And I am stopping, just to clarify. I was trying to stop at like 2 or 3, but they keep coming, right?
That's right, brother. It's a good thing, though. It's a real good thing. As long as mom is happy, you're happy.
Oh, man, and I love it. It's a blessing. So I have little girl, 3 little girls, 9, 7, 6, and a boy at my last hurrah, and he's 4, and so we're real blessed there.
So you got
it's a little bit
gals,
about me.
So you got 3 gals and went to complete the circle with a little guy, huh?
Exactly. I was
man.
hoping for the last hurrah, and I lucked up and got him. So,
well,
really
tell me a
cool.
little bit about how did you get into chimney business? Now, you said Bone Dry. That's a pretty big operation based out of Indianapolis, correct?
Correct. They're huge. They're actually a regional roofing company, and I, tied in with their masonry division, which was primarily 95% nothing but chimneys. Really? So I was working at a rock climbing gym and going to a Bible college, actually, of all places, and making, minimum wage. And I had a kid on the way, my first one, and I said, I gotta get serious here. And so I'm kind of praying about it, thinking like, what am I going to do? God, man, this is crazy. I can't do minimum wage and kids. And I'd played a lot in my 20s, so I'd traveled and I worked a lot, but I never really established my career. So my goal was to get that going. I had a guy just out of nowhere walk into the climbing gym where I was working and said, so you're not afraid of heights, obviously, working here. Have you ever thought about working on chimneys? And I said, no, but let's keep talking. So,
well, wait a minute. You just dropped a nugget on gold on us, and I think a lot of guys heard, and you passed over, brother. I would have never thought of going to a rock climbing gym to recruit somebody. That is
Absolutely,
an
yeah.
excellent place to start looking. I never would have thought of that. You got a rough and tumble dude that's not afraid of height. There he is, up hanging belay off, the whole thing like that,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Exactly. And I mean, since then, whenever I'm hiring, I go set up at the rock climbing gym and hang out and talk to everybody and their mother, and I throw it out there. And I've actually been able to rein in about 3 or 4 different guys from that tactic.
I think we just say goodbye to you now. You killed it with that one, man. That's the first time everybody's killed it in the first like 3-4 minutes.
Nice,
That's powerful,
nice.
man.
Well, hopefully, yeah. I mean, that's an easy way guys could just, all right, let's bring the family to the climbing gym, and I'm going to kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Awesome, brother. Awesome. Well, let's talk a little bit. Now, see, you've Indianapolis, Lexington. How did you get to, I guess, Atlanta, Georgia?
Yeah, so I guess after Indianapolis, I was just wanting to kind of move back home and be closer to the family. I told the management there, the owners, and they said, well, we don't want to see you go. Would you consider, moving to our satellite office? So that's how I ended up Lexington, and I managed Cincinnati, Ohio, and Louisville. And I did that for about 4 or 5 years. And after driving around and just, again, wanting to get closer to home and mom and all the family fun stuff, decided to move to Atlanta. And National Chimney kind of caught heard of it, had a real good relationship with Evan and some of the guys there, Darren. And they knew about John Susong down here needing a general manager, and the rest is history.
Wait a minute. You just dropped another one on me. I didn't know you were my backdoor competitor here in Cincinnati. That's awesome, brother.
Yeah, I'd heard about you, knew about you. We were pretty small fry at the time because coming out of Lexington, we were just real grassroots trying to start up these markets. And so by the time, we had gotten large enough to where I couldn't keep up with all the driving and the demand, that's when I had the conversation with him, like, this isn't working for you guys and us, like we're just growing too much. And, so that's kind of how it evolved.
Well, Christian, it's really interesting because, I think it's important to know your competitors. I don't think you have to freak out and be afraid of them, but I think you ought to know their size or magnitude, what their penetration is in your marketplace. And one guy, I drove up to Bone Dry Roofing up there, and I wanted to see what kind of trucks ahead. And I think I counted like 12, 13 trucks, roofing vehicles, trailers, and things like that. So it told me a story. You guys are seriously entrenched into Cincinnati.
Oh, yeah. Their market there was huge. And it was primarily the roofing side, of course. But you're right, and that's a good tactic. And honestly, I always encourage people, and especially in my market, to know your competitors. And if you can play nice and have them. We host a lot of training events here, and we kind of collaborate. And it's been really neat. We've been able to connect with companies like Old Hat and Advanced Chimney and people here in our region, and we have a great relationship. And it's pretty cool.
That morning that John Susong picked me up to drive me into your facility up there, I was just enthralled. I mean, I just couldn't believe how big Atlanta has gotten in the last, 10 years. It shocked me how big it was.
Oh, it is amazing, and it's not slowing down. And I think we could say that about a lot of cities, even the small ones. I mean, obviously the population's increasing, and chimneys are continually falling apart. So the future looks bright, and there's not a lot of competent companies out there. So,
well, Home Contractors HQ listeners, I'm sitting here with Christian LeBlanc from Atlanta, Georgia, Chimney Solutions, and he's dropping some bombs on us here about watching your business, watching your competitors, and knowing what's going on, and also that your city's getting bigger. And really, are you watching it grow? Are you going to do something about it? I'm guilty as charged many times. You just get complacent and don't move forward and watch with the expansion and how you're going to grow it. You have to think as a manager, I do 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years out ahead. And I really mean that with all my heart. I really have to think as a manager, I have to be out there in front, not just 6 hours today. I need to be 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years out thinking.
Absolutely.
As a manager, I want to ask you, what would you think is one of your weaknesses that you are cautious of, or what is it that you think you might be weak at that you find support within your company to help you on?
Sure. Great question. The easy answer is trust. I trust everybody. I've done some of these personality assessments, the DISC exam. There's a handful of them out there, and I think they're real healthy to bring to light all the character traits and strengths, weaknesses for all your team members. something we've done. But for me personally, one of my biggest is trust. I trust everybody. An interview comes in and, we're family within a matter of 5 minutes. And so I'm hiring the wrong people. And that could be an issue of, just real big magnitude at the end of the day, because a year later you're dealing with all their issues and the fact that, they took advantage of you or the company and the friendship or whatever may have evolved. So the easy answer is trustworthiness, being too trustworthy of people.
I think that's a good answer there. And I want to kind of peel that back a little bit too, because I think I probably have that same problem. I'm too trusting and I've given the store away too many times. What have you set up as kind of filters that really help you? Have you have a second interview? Do you have to pass through other people? What have you set up as obstacle course that this prospective employee might have to go through?
Exactly. No, for one, we've started the secondary interviews, which is major, and then also making sure that my management team is a part of that hiring process. So it's not just me and my warm and fuzzy feeling, and I bring in this guy, and now everybody has to deal with this bad apple. So I get multiple opinions. I have a very strategic list of questions that I've gotten from different events and seminars, like Dave Pomeroy's training on hiring and firing. There's a lot of great resources out there. So I have a starting point with the interview process, and then we have multiple opinions involved now. So whether it's my sales manager, my office manager, our general manager, we make sure everybody kind of gets their opinion, and we make a collaborative decision instead of just me being the deciding factor and shooting from the hip.
Boy, that's a great answer, and I'm going to reconfirm that, because if you go back and listen to our Home Contractors HQ podcast with Aaron Zambrano, my goodness, he really informs us a lot of really interesting techniques that he uses, and it's not too far from what you're saying, but it is really worth listening to that podcast again. Just you might pick up some other insights. I love the testing.
Sure.
I think it's important. I love the double or triple interview. And that's a pretty interesting thing to really put on the table. I remember years ago, we didn't do double interviews, and we paid dearly for it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a big deal. I've paid the price many times. So.
Well, let's talk about distractions, because I think that's one thing that we all deal with in our companies. It could be the email or social media. What do you think would be some distractions that you personally have to deal with, and how do you get around them?
Well, I know it sounds a little cliche, but our culture in general, I think, is just so high-paced, and the technology factor alone, just with your phone and text messaging and Facebook, and just everything's just high-paced, and just social media. And I'm not a big Facebook guy or any of that by any means, but maybe it's Twitter or Instagram or these different platforms that are out there that are distracting. Sometimes it could be just not being able to prioritize your time. But, there's really, for me, it's the social media stuff and just the hustle and bustle of culture, where it's just so busy and you just got to know everything and you just go, and then there's not enough hours in the day, right?
You're right. It's interesting you said that, because I have a friend of mine, he actually shared with me that he uses a second computer to do all his writing and journaling on, and there's no internet connection with it.
Ah, that's interesting.
And I thought, boy, that's really a great way of doing it, because, my goodness, I guess we all think we're more important than we really are, and that we have so much value to the world.
Yeah.
I got to check my feed here, and there. And I hate to say it, but I've got 4 platforms I speak on, with Home Contractors HQ, American Chimney, my Fireplace and Chimney Supply. And golly, I'm really not that important, honestly, Christian.
Yeah. Well, trust me, and I mean, Ask the Chimney Sweep. I mean, you're a busy guy, very impressive. And for what it's worth, I think we all just have that tendency to spread ourselves too thin.
Yeah.
So that's one of my big ones.
Well, let's do this. I want to talk about inspect what you expect a little bit. What do you do as far as systems down there to inspect what your guys are doing? Do you have a quality control system? Do you have a Q&A? What do you do?
So I'll answer it kind of in a roundabout way. What we had to create was called an issue resolution. So we call it an IR. And anytime we have quality control calls that are just active from homeowners calling in, hey, my cap's crooked, or hey, it's still leaking, we created an issue resolution process. So at that point, we go out and meet with the homeowner. We immediately spearhead it and ask them their concerns. We write them down. We put everything on paper and document and take ownership. And then we ask them to, what they want, and we come to an agreement, and then we put it all on paper. We have them sign it. And it's been really amazing. So that's kind of happened out of sheer necessity because of the growth and poor training and all of our deficiencies as a company. So as we created that IR process, our counter to it was our training process, and that could be a long conversation, so I'll stop there. But basically, we have a learning management system that we just launched at the beginning of this year that we're really excited about, and what that does is allows kind of a Chimney Solutions University. So we have multiple PowerPoints. We've actually used a lot of your videos at Ask the Chimney Sweep that we've incorporated into it. So thank you very much. And
more than welcome.
Very cool stuff where we're showing pictures and all the basics of chimney physics and all those things we're compiling into like a 40-hour university for our new hires.
40 hours?
Yeah,
Man,
it's pretty
killer.
crazy. And we spread it out, so on rain days and over the first month or two that they're there, we'll keep them in-house and just have them plow through 2 or 3 hours at a time so they don't get burnt out just back to back. And it kind of makes sense more as they go and they start touching top mount dampers and different tools like that. They see, oh, I saw that yesterday. So we also have a hands-on learning or experiential learning center. So just a training center where we built a couple ridge lines and roofs and different chimneys, sided brick, and just articulate it to where they can actually tuck point and grind out the joints and do all that stuff right here. So in-house training facility. It's pretty neat.
Interesting, because I was with John one night at his new facility for, Access?
Yes, industrial access.
Oh,
yes.
My gosh, that training facility is out of this world, man. It's like
amazing,
another place, yes. And I understand now why you're so serious about it, because when you go in there and you understand about that industrial access approach of things, it's killer. So it sounds like you brought it in-house.
Exactly. And the LMS stuff is really, really neat. I think we're kind of on the cutting edge of bringing that into the chimney industry. And I think a lot of big major companies are starting to do it. Actually, we've seen the CSIA do something similar. As you take online classes there, it's very similar to that, where they log your hours and it's very strategic and specific. So we're excited about it. I mean, we've got a long ways to go, but I think that's going to really help with being able to inspect what we expect, like you said.
Another thing we ran into, when you hire a new gal in the office or someone in the office, let's put it that way, it's a different world they're coming into. And they kind of nod their head like they kind of get it. But we make them sit down and do probably about 15 or 20 different videos so they understand what a top mount damper is, what a damper is, what it's like to be on scaffolding, so they understand that approach when they answer the phone, because I know a lot of people have been in the industry, have never been outside the office and felt a damper, understand what it is. But when the office understands it, there's a lot more insight on it. Christian, I wanted to ask you a question. I want to hit something real quick. You hear a problem. How do you reply? Let me tell you, we do this. We found it's real quick to be moved from a voice conversation, which is acknowledgement, then we move it into an e-conversation real quick so we can get that he said, she said out of the way, and it's already documented. And it really made a big difference for us as far as, well, you said this, and we want to make sure we hear that. And we found that you have to listen to the employee so you kind of get an idea, because you could have a totally different story from your employee than your customer. And a lot of times your employee's right.
Absolutely.
And I really had to change that. I like what you said, that you move it into a training process after that, because you've identified the problem, you found out how to solve it, and now you're really going to use it as a training tool. I thought that was awesome what you said there.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, and I've heard different versions of, the old cliche, but you learn from your mistakes, right? But to break it down, I think a lot of people look at upset customers or, kind of quality control issues as like the thorn in their side, and they just run from it. And I'll coin that Buffalo mentality phrase here. I think that Stoner brought up is, we just run to it immediately. We figure it out, and then we learn from it, and we explain everything to the team, and how do we avoid this next time, and what are we going to do to eliminate this factor? And it really becomes less and less the further you go that continues to arise.
It's interesting you said that, because this buffalo analogy that you're talking about, there's a tape, and I don't even know if I've got it anymore. I probably do, but it talks about the buffalo herd actually doesn't turn their back to it. They run to the storm.
Exactly.
And that's what we have to do
So,
as managers, employers. We need to figure out how we're going to run to the storm, because it sure isn't going away, is it?
Nope. And there's always going to be those crazy customers where you didn't do anything wrong. They're just trying to take advantage of the system or get a price break. So by handling it like what you said, you move it to a kind of an email documentation, and then you see basically a paper trail, that allows you to kind of get everything on paper, and everything's there, and it's understood and clear, and it's really easy to decipher.
And what we do, we found once we've listened to them, we send an acknowledgement that we've heard them. We're going to look into it. We're explaining things to them, what we're doing, but it also revisits that we've had that voice conversation, so they
Absolutely.
can say, so nothing gets lost in the translation. Yeah. So let me jump on to another thing here I want to talk about. What about as a team, what kind of key indicators do you use, or reports within your company, kind of keep your guys on track and you on track? Do you use sales volumes, or how many caps they sold? What do you do?
Right. That's a tricky one we're working through now with some of the software that we're using. We don't have a lot of the reporting aspects that some companies might. So we're in the process of developing it, but we do a lot of in-home or in-house reporting. So even if it's manual and we're taking, just counting things up by hand, it sounds kind of archaic, but keep it simple, right? So we do some closure rates where we just see what the guys are selling, how often. We post it on the board so everyone could see it. But we do KPIs, the key performance indicators, like you said, in a sense. For us, it's engagement, really, and it's more of just like a constant contact with our guys, and it's relational, and there's a lot of accountability. So we may not always be going over these specific numbers and looking at, hey, this is your percentage in closing, but we do constantly just try to embrace them and see where they're at and see what kind of help they need, the frustrations they have. We actually get more into the side of, family time. Are you making enough time for your life and your hobbies to where you're not burnt out over here? Because
wait a minute, Chris. I've never heard a company ask that question. We talk about it, but that's a really important question. How's your family time? What's going on? We all talk about it, but it's like, wow, you can slide over that too quick.
Yeah, and it's amazing because it's easy, for some companies just to go to them and say, hey, your numbers are low, or how are you networking, and did you sell this? And it's just work, work, work. And we already work, work, work. We spend more time with our employees and our fellow coworkers than we do our family sometimes. And I think a lot of the frustrations and the weaknesses that we have in the company come from the fact that they're not spending enough time refreshing themselves or keeping a healthy marriage or family life. And so it just permeates into our company. So if I could hit it headstrong in that aspect, it's really profound, and the guys respond to it well. And all of a sudden you realize that they're frustrated and they hadn't seen their wife in a week because they're running late estimates. And I'm like, oh, I'm glad you told me. Why don't you take, a half day on Friday and get a long weekend? They come back refreshed with all their paperwork caught up, and they're just rejuvenated. It's pretty awesome on Monday morning. So we try to do a lot more of that than we do crunching numbers and beating them up because their closure rate isn't 50, 60, 70%, It's been pretty amazing. So,
well, let's do this, Chris. It's about time I sign off here. It's been a great conversation, but I want you to help me out with any goal-setting hints or disciplines that you do to work with. And I guess I want to close out after that with, do you have a book recommendation or a quote?
Absolutely. All right. So, tough question. Yeah. Good book. I'd say Entreleadership by Dave Ramsey.
Wow.
Really, really great book. Vision kind of goals for us. it was the hardest thing to do, and I know it sounds cliche and it seems like a corporate America kind of thing, but I think for a lot of the small chimney companies like ourselves or smaller, to create those core values and to create a mission statement and a vision statement is a really profound thing that we just got accomplished, and we've embraced, and once it's done, we're starting to see the impact of it, and so we're seeing how our vision and our goals are starting to come to light much more quickly because of that. And so that's kind of a broad stroke, answer, but those core values, vision, and mission statements.
Well, it's interesting you said that, because those things really create the culture within your business. When you really figure those out, then the guys really understand that you really do care about them more than just getting the job done. So that core value is huge, like you just said.
Absolutely. So.
Well, my friend, I think we're going to sign off. I can't thank you enough, Christian, for stopping by and saying hello to us on the Home Contractors Training Stage. And as I always say, 73s to all my friends out there, be civil with all mankind. Love and protect your family. Honor and serve your God. Now go do the hard work. That sure was a good interview with Christian. He's a strong guy. Really appreciate his knowledge. He's young wisdom, and I do mean young wisdom. He's a young man, but has a lot of experience what he's doing. Runs a couple of operations around the country, involved with a lot of things for John Susong. And the next thing we're going to do next week is Bill Hustle. Now, I call that older wise wisdom. Bill has bought and sold more businesses than anybody I've ever met before in our industry. Great amount of knowledge, so please join us. We drop next week at 6 o'clock in the morning, so join us if you would. It'll be up all weekend. Something good to listen to while you wash that car and take out the garbage, if you know what I mean. Again, Clay Lamb here with Ask the Chimney Sweep. It's been a pleasure being with you, my friends. Make sure you like and subscribe. Make YouTube and Google happy. Thank you much. Clay Lamb, I'm out.